fire away, guys.
Yeah,
How you feeling? Are you excited? Are you excited about this pick?
Very excited. We're ecstatic. Obviously, there was a lot of emotion in the room there. Our scouts have worked so hard throughout the entire season. You go through different mock drafts, you go through different scenarios, being prepared for different outcomes. But I think just so many things fit well in selecting Chase. Offensive upside, he has size, great skater. He's played in international hockey already. I thought he did an excellent job for Team USA at the World Juniors. Went on a great playoff run in OHL this past year. Late bloomer, continues to improve on his game. Just how he plays the game, I think, will fit very well in Lane's system here. So, no, we're ecstatic to have Chase a part of the Kraken organization.
In your scouting process, what was something that was unexpected that you found out about Chase?
Well, let's just be honest. It's tough for me being a proud Wolverine to draft a Sparty, but I will say, it's part of the process that we're excited about. He had great development up at the Sioux in the OHL. You look at Coach Nightingale and what they're doing at Michigan State and developing players. We think it's going to be a great spot for him to continue in his development there, and excited to certainly see him in a Kraken jersey in the near future.
Jason, how surprised were you that he was available for you? I mean, there's some outlets have him top overall prospects, some top deep prospect. At the very least, kind of see him there at 7. How shocked were you that he was there?
Well, is it the classic GM? I can't believe he was there. The comment and stuff there, but no, I think it's why you saw in the room. We were very excited about the situation there. We felt this year there was a lot of top defensemen. I think it's so difficult to actually distinguish between each one of them. Let's just say there was a lot of defensemen that have that projection to be top 4, and we certainly had Chase very high on our list. As it was progressing, you're hoping that it might be a situation where he comes to us. Once we finally, I think it was Calgary ahead of us, make their decision, we were ecstatic to know that Chase was going to be a part of our group.
Jason, he brought up on the call with the media that he and Fiddler were roommates at World Juniors camp, and he, like Blake, was singing the praises of the team. It must make you feel pretty good that he's got a guy like that coming in.
Without a doubt, right? It's been well documented that we've used a lot of high picks on centermen in our organization and our forwards. And I think, it's a scenario where you're looking at possibly adding more defensemen. We were excited to get Blake last year, now to get Chase. And I think it's always feels so much better when it's not forced, right? When the top best player available in our mind, still on the list, is also a defenseman that fits very well into our organization.
Is it help at all that he's right-handed? Is that a positive in terms of just what you look at?
Let's be honest, we need left and right-handed defensemen and stuff from that standpoint. I think it's what gets us even more excited from that bit. And look, I think right-handed shot defensemen are always in demand in the National Hockey League, but just how he plays. When you watch video of him, Chase always has his head up. And I think he has that nice combination of being able to skate his way out of trouble, but also have his head up nonstop and make a quick outlet play. I think it was probably, for being such a young player on Team USA, you saw how he was able to make that transition to International Hockey League so quickly, and hopefully, he can make the transition to college next year, and then eventually to the National Hockey League.
Ideal path, is he maybe trying to kick your lineup in 2 years from now after that 1 year at Michigan State, or how do you kind of see the? Look,
with defensemen, you want to obviously take your time with it from that aspect. We're going to be just great, ecstatic that he's going to be a part of our group here for development camp this upcoming week. As I said to you before, I have a lot of faith in what Coach Nightingale is doing at Michigan State University. I think he's really done a great job in making that program an elite program in college hockey. So that makes Chase going to be playing in some important games, and also continuing to work on his development. They've had some high draft picks there. Their style of play is, I think, something very easy for players then to make the transition to National Hockey League. I don't want to sit here and make a belief that, hey, it's going to be 1 year, it's going to be 2 years. We'll continue to evaluate. We'll certainly be watching him a lot through the process here, and we'll certainly allow him to turn pro when we feel he's ready to step in.
First time we've talked to you since you re-signed Mother McMahon, 6 years. You talked a lot about the conversations that he had with you about kind of the vision for the team going forward. What was that vision that would help you sell him on this extension?
Well, I think it was a process that involved the entire organization, and I think obviously you saw on the ice how Bobby fitted so well into our team. Just his speed, his shot, his ability to get to the net. I think there was a real fit there. And then obviously we're disappointed about not making the playoffs, but it also allowed Bobby to have an opportunity to sort of get to know the Pacific Northwest a little bit, and some of his, whether it's being South Lake Union, playing golf, going on some hikes, just seeing the city a lot more from that standpoint. So it was good that he got to enjoy the area and feel comfortable with that. Both myself, Lane, Sam, certainly had conversations with him throughout the entire process, making sure that, you know, Bobby had a great process through it all, and where the organization's at right now, you know, what we're planning to do for vision to continue to improve this team. Also talking to him a lot about some of our young prospects that he didn't see, but he also got to see at the end of the year, right? Having some of these kids come up, you know, and play different roles from that standpoint, a player like Yanni Newman or some of our goaltenders from that standpoint. I know just his relationship with Berkeley Catton, Berkeley asking him some questions, you know, it sort of was the first time that Bobby's ever sort of viewed himself in a leadership role. So these different things, I think, just allowed him to feel more comfortable about signing with us, and you know, we've said from day one when he joined our organization it was a great fit, and very happy to get him signed up for 6 more years.
Similarly, since you got Sam Skevich as well, can you kind of talk us through that deal for you, where you think he kind of fits into your lineup and what you like about the player you're getting?
Yeah, I think there's actually a lot of similarities to Bobby's game, and how we think that can fit in well with Lane's system here. You look at Mackey, you know, he's played in a great organization in Florida. He's always had success of winning a Stanley Cup, seeing what it takes to have success in the playoffs there. But I think his strengths again is his speed and having that shot first mentality. I think the fact that he's a right shot, you know, I believe he's a couple days or apart from Maddie's birthday, but same age from that bit. You know, bringing another 23-year-old into our mix, we think we're going to have an opportunity for him to get a little bit more ice time here, and we really think there's a lot more potential with his game.
Any reports last night on the team's unsuccessful bid to acquire Jason Robinson? Is there anything you'd like to clear up?
No, look, there's always different things that we are certainly going to go about, and right now I don't feel comfortable talking about another team's player, but I just say, like, hey, we are going to continue to look at a lot of different avenues and trying to improve our team. We were ecstatic about re-signing Bobby, ecstatic about making the trade for Mackey. We think it adds speed and more of a shot-first mentality to our group, and we'll continue to look to see, you know, how we can continue to improve our team in different ways. And I think you're seeing across the league right now a lot of trade activity. Just unfortunately, there's not a big free agent list this year. I think a lot of teams are realizing if they're going to improve their team, you have to do it through the trade market. And I think that's going to happen, continue for the next couple of days, but obviously into the summer and stuff too from that standpoint. But no, we're going to continue to look at all different avenues. Excited about the players we've, you know, added to the mix here. I think we look at, there's always so many different ways you can look at a forward group leading into the start of the season, but there's a good opportunity that we have 6 or 7 23 or younger players on our roster at the start of you know, the season next year. I think that just goes to show that a lot of our young players are ready, and now we got to keep finding ways to make sure to sort of support them with players and mentors that can help them out.
Kind of jumping off of that there,
yep.
You mentioned the trades that have gone on, a number of contracts thrown around this week. What do you kind of make of the landscape of the league at the moment with that kind of as you head into free agency here, with the way things are headed?
I think it's just a situation like I touched on before, like you can't sort of wait for free agency to really improve your team. There's certainly a lot of players still out there from a free agent standpoint, but I don't think there's a lot of sort of the higher end elite players this year. Most teams have signed, be able to sign them, re-sign them with the cap escalated from that standpoint. So you're looking at a lot more sort of hockey trades from that. There's certainly been some trades with draft capital, and that's why part of the reason why we jumped on the trade with Mackey was just we found a situation where a team is looking for draft capital. I think a lot of teams are looking for that, you know, the hockey trade, because you know all these teams are looking for hockey players right now.
You mentioned the lack of the high end on the free agent market, and
yep.
given the public nature of the rejection there with Robertson, given Panarin on top of that, is that a signal that maybe the team needs to take a step back and build things internally?
Well, look, I think where you have to build things internally, yeah, it's a big part of what we're doing right now is making sure, you know, our players continue to develop here, but also are continuing to be treated well here. And you know, it's why we continue to look at different avenues from a player development standpoint, not only getting players to the National Hockey League, but once they get to the National Hockey League, continue to escalate their roles here. You know, it's why we brought in someone like Justin Ryan onto our staff last year. It's why now we've continued to, add Justin Schultz to our development staff. Now he has a great project in Chase Reed from that standpoint. I think there's a lot of similarities in their games back in the day. So we're going to continue to look at those things. I think the fact that, hey, Bobby's a classic example of once they get to the organization and how they feel they're treated by the organization and the organization's commitment to winning from our ownership down and the facilities that we have here, hey, people want to be a part of it here. And the fact that Jordan Eberle re-signed for us for a couple of years, you've seen in the past some players, whether it's Decord or Matty Beniers re-signing with us. Hey, I think our players feel that they're treated extremely well here, and we're going to continue to build off of them.
On that topic of
Yeah.
developing players, what's at the NHL level?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk, post audit about player development, improving that. I mean, you brought in Justin Schultz, Justin Fry, all of that.
Yep.
Is opportunity or playing time or things like that? Is that an area where you feel a change needs to be made there? Or?
Oh, I think it's certainly something that we have to continue to look at for sure. And yeah, part of development is getting that opportunity, giving ice time. I also think too, it is the progress, right? We saw it last year. We can say we have to leave opportunities open for young players, but a player like Jacob Melanson or Ryan mentioned it, they weren't ready until last year, right? And so that's there. And what's exciting now is whether it's Oscar Mogard, whether it's Yanni Newman, whether it's Furcus, like these young players are ready too. Like, hey, we're excited about a Mietinen or a Flick Fiddler, but they're not ready for the National Hockey League right now. It's a process. So we're excited that now we feel we have a lot of players who are on the cusp of being ready for National Hockey League opportunity. And hey, these are discussions that Lane and I continue to have on, hey, putting players in different roles and putting players in roles where they can have success. And it's also important to make sure that we sign players like Bobby to take off some of the burden on some of our younger players.
How do you kind of view Justin Schultz's role with you guys? Do you view him as possibly being here sometimes, working with the defense that you have at this level, or kind of roaming more so to the affiliates and some of the checking in on the guys?
So he'll certainly, obviously he'll be here next week for the development camp. He'll be here and here for training camp, but he'll work mainly with our players who are in junior, our drafted players who are in junior college over in Europe, and then certainly work down in Coachella Valley a lot. You look at our defense group in Coachella Valley, we have a lot of young players down there and a lot of potential. And why Justin worked with our group a little bit this year. Give him a lot of credit for sort of testing it out to see if this is something he wanted to get into. But I have a lot of time for Justin. Just my time being in Pittsburgh, you look at it, he was an offensive player, went through some ups and downs in his pro career to start with. In 2016, he won a Stanley Cup as a third pairing defenseman. And then in 2017, with Letang's injury, he won a Stanley Cup being a go-to defenseman. So I think he has an ability to know what it goes through and how it's difficult it is to make the jump to the National Hockey League. And then once you get there, all the different roles that you have to go into. So we're proud of Corey Murphy and our development staff, and I think Justin just adds another layer to it, another good experience that's going to help out some of our young players like Chase.
That was down in Coachella. He was helping out last year a little bit.
Pardon me?
That was down in Coachella.
He didn't help much down in Coachella last year. He did mainly just with our junior players. Obviously Fiddler in Edmonton was one that he did worked a lot with, and obviously next year now we'll certainly get him to Coachella Valley more.
And I think it's the first time we talked to you since you brought Patrick in to join the front office too.
Yep.
What do you like to have and having his ear with you in the building and everything? And what do you see his role kind of being to kind of help you out?
Yep. So Patrick, I think it's a great combination. I worked with him for 10 years in Pittsburgh. I felt in Pittsburgh we did a really nice job from a player evaluation standpoint, but a collaboration standpoint too. And it's then now been, 9 years or so since I last worked with him. So then he has this whole other set of experiences. Obviously working with Ron Hextall into that group, but then going and becoming a general manager in Vancouver. And to me, it's just bringing in new ideas. It's the same thing when bringing in Ryan Jankowski last year and now Patrick. I feel we're doing a lot of positive things in our organization, but to have these new ideas and just new perceptions to bring apart things, I think certainly helps out our group to make our group stronger. What I love about Patrick is just, I think he's a very good evaluator of talent. He's worked his way up from being a part-time scout all the way up to becoming a general manager. He has certainly a long book on players from their amateur days and into the pro. He has a lot of connections with different agents and experiences in dealing with other general managers that he can certainly assist with me from that standpoint. So he'll certainly be around the team, but also involved a lot with the pro scouting staff in making decisions over the next year or so.
the Sportsology audit, is there anything that they did that influenced or informed your decision either in this draft process or upcoming free agency that you might not have otherwise done?
You know, what I would say mainly is just, you know, we talk a lot about our process, and it's part of the things that I've liked about Patrick Elby a lot too, right? It's just there's always an evaluation of what is our process here. And you know, working with Sportsology, to me it was the right time. You look at, as an organization, you're always so focused on day to day, year to year, how are you doing things, and now, you know, reflecting and looking back on, you know, if we're 2 years in or 3 years in, doesn't make a lot of sense. We're now 5 years in. Let's look back on some of the things that we're doing well and some of the things that we can improve on. I wouldn't say that there was a ton that we've changed from a draft perspective here, but hey, just some of the hiring process here, Justin Schultz, and different areas that we can, instead of just being solid in certain areas, there are certain areas that we can try to become best in class. I think that working with Mike Ford, obviously his group has, you know, been a part of so many NBA teams, NFL teams, seen successful sort of, you know, organizations, how they function. Giving that information to us and suggestions to that has been very helpful. And the fact that he's now staying on, you know, sort of help us implement that, I think is going to make us a stronger organization.
Without tipping your hand on the rest of the draft process, what is the key trait for a Seattle Kraken player? Look,
it's hey, we all want monstrous players who can skate like the wind and have amazing skill, right? We all want that. But I think the one element that we continue to look at, whether it's through the draft process, but certainly even from a free agent standpoint, is speed, right? Speed, and then I think what our amateur scouts have done a really good job from a due diligence standpoint is just, you are evaluating and drafting 18-year-old kids, making sure they have that inner drive and that coachability element. If these kids at age 18 think this is the end of the road, that hey, you know, it's automatic now that I got drafted, you're in trouble. And you know, that's what I've enjoyed working with a guy like Berkeley Catton, or a Jacob Melanson. Doesn't matter if you're a first-round pick or a fifth-round pick. These young players have the drive to get better, and you know, I think that's what you need to have in your DNA to really be successful, to become a National Hockey League player. And you know, Berkeley Catton's a great example of it. You know, you look at where he was at the start of the year to the end of the year, and then him just going through his mind on what went well, what didn't. You know, being able to make sure that those mistakes don't happen next year. You know, I think it gets us excited about where he can take off for next year and help us out.
Jaren McCain and Vince Dunn are both eligible for an extension on the first. Have you had any talks with them about an extension, and do you feel you need to make a decision on them to extend or to trade them before the season starts?
No, we've certainly been talking to them and their agents just on, you know, how our team's sort of being set up here right now and stuff, and going from there. We have not engaged in contract negotiations with them right now. In our minds, they're going to be a big part of our group here. You know, it's a situation where it was well documented that, you know, Jared was injured at different parts throughout last year. Just having a strong summer, you know, getting healthy, getting him back to, you know, utilizing that speed that we talked about, getting his shot off, I think is going to be key for him. But we view both players as big parts of our group here moving forward.
Are you considering any buyouts?
No, not considering any buyouts.
Shane Wright's name's been absolutely everywhere. Is he on the table?
You know, look, with Shane, our coaching staff continues to interact with him throughout the summer. He's a young 22-year-old center in the National Hockey League. You know, he had close to 19 goals, or he had 19 goals, almost 20 goals his first year. You look at the stats, might have dropped off a little bit last year, but I think his two-way play actually improved a lot from that standpoint. So, you know, look, it's something that there's discussions with different teams about, you know, when they ask about different players from that bit. But right now, our focus is continuing to be, you know, what do we have to do to get more out of Shane and allow him to help him to have more success on the ice. And you talk about offensive sort of ice time opportunities or roles. Those are things that we can continue to talk about to put Shane in a better position.
You expect Jared to be fully healthy for camp at this stage?
Yes, definitely.
Anything else?
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.